Maura Kolb. I'm the president of Dryden Gold. Dryden Gold is an explorer looking in northwestern Ontario for high-grade gold in an orogenic system. We've amalgamated a large land package of 600 square kilometers, and we're exploring in the Gold Rock Camp currently.
Maura, thank you very much for the introduction. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We have spoken on Zoom before when you were at Treasury Metals, and you're new to Dryden, relatively. And you've brought Anna with you.
Yes, our VP of Exploration. Sorry, forgot to introduce you.
That's all right.
And Treasury Metals to Dryden, how did that, well, first of all, perhaps for the viewers, give a little bit of background about kind of your pedigree and what brought you to be the president of Dryden.
Certainly. I have like a love for high-grade, complex deposits. I spent 8 years in Red Lake, 5 of them as exploration manager, and that's when I worked with Anna first. We worked together there. She was my second in command and helped me with replacing reserves, and we brought the discovery cost down from $300 an ounce to $50 with an excellent team that if you run into any of them at PDAC here, you'll like them. Really focused on technical excellence there and improving the geologic thesis to find more gold. So that was...
I get a little bit worried when I hear the word complex, you know, high grade and complex.
They always go together though.
So by that you mean kind of structurally complex.
Exactly.
And kind of so what you to reduce your exploration cost, presumably what you do is you understand the structure, and once you can understand something, you can explain it, and once you can explain it, you can predict where it's going to be, and therefore you can find it for a low.
Exactly.
Okay.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Once you start to understand it and you get the controls well understood, you can predict where the next one will be and why.
Okay, and how did you make the hop from Treasury to Dryden? Did someone give you the call and just kind of say, this is the opportunity, are you free?
Last year at PDAC, I was kind of getting antsy, thinking I wanted to do something else. I started a company with some friends exploring kind of prospecting, and so I was a free agent coming out of PDAC, and Trey had been looking for someone with a technical background that wanted to get into the corporate suite, heard about me, and when he brought up the project, I thought, oh, there's so many similarities to the geology in Red Lake, and it was actually something I always kind of wanted to pick up the same ground when I was with Treasury, so it was a very serendipitous union.
And when did he join Dryden, and when did the company list? And did he join when it was still private?
I joined when it was still private, late April last year.
Yeah.
And then we did quite a bit of work over the summer. I got my boots on the ground. I've been all over the entire property.
Yeah.
And then using that field work, we really honed in on what we wanted to drill. We raised some money in Beaver Creek last year, and before we went public, we started the drill program. So we were in the RTO process. We finished that at the end of the year, and we started trading on the 10th of January of this year.
Okay. And how much did you raise at Beaver Creek?
About $1 million.
And did you do a subsequent raise again on the IPO?
Exactly. We did $5 million on the RTO.
Okay, so kind of $6 million in the last 6 months. And so you were drilling, and you obviously continuing to drill?
Yes, we're in the midst of the drill program right now. We've been doing it in small phases, which gives us the ability to take what we learn in each phase and apply it to the next and keep improving our targeting. And
when did you give the call to Anna? You know, what was that process? You know, how did that conversation go?
So Anna was working for another company, and she also was consulting. And so I had asked her for some help because she's a geochemist and very, very bright, much brighter than me most times. And she always keeps me in line. So I was working with her anyway, and I was trying to get the band back together. We work well together, and I knew it would be a great fit. So maybe I'll let you take over from there.
I officially joined in October.
Okay.
You know, prior to that, like Maura was saying, I was working as a consultant, doing a lot in the capital markets sort of space and a little bit with lithium. But, you know, I always loved gold, you know, very similar to Maura after working in the Red Lake camp. And I worked in Nunavut and Northwest Territories for a long time as well. You know, really liked gold exploration, the complexity of it on the structure side, but also on the geochemical side. So, you know, really doing that fundamental baseline geology work is what really interested me on this. And
when you talk about kind of the geochemistry in gold exploration, are you principally talking about using trace elements as pathfinders, or do you look at kind of perhaps more sophisticated signatures through kind of ratios of some of these trace elements?
Yeah, so I mean, not getting too technical. We do look at some whole rock to really understand the rock units that we're in.
So you look at the whole rock geochemistry to look at the
Yeah.
alteration that's associated with that to see.
Yeah, so the whole rock, we're really looking at understanding the types of lithologies we get with the oxides. And then we look at basically the elemental geochemistry using 4-acid digestion to really understand some of the alteration signatures. And from that, we can look at pathfinder elements as well. So, really taking what we're learning with our current drill program at Gold Rock, but with that understanding, wanting to apply it to the global land package as well. Because Maura mentioned we have a large land package, and we want to make sure that we're always sort of filling that pipeline as we go.
There's sometimes these key units that they look all the same, but they have a different geochemical signature. We found that really important in Red Lake, and you see it also in Timmins Camp and others. So we're looking for that as well. The sea of basalt, there really is a key unit that you actually want to be able to find and trace.
Is that a kind of a potassic alteration? Which kind of is it kind of an influx of potassium, or is it some kind of metasomatism?
It's actually like a high titanium basalt unit that we're looking at. So understanding those sort of like different sort of flows that we're getting in the system. Like a lot of the rocks that we're drilling are mostly basalts, mafic volcanics, but it's fairly obvious to us that we're going through some different packages of those units. So understanding how can those different packages affect the emplacement of gold.
And some are better hosts, right? So we want to find those and be able to target them.
So I mean, really, what we're talking about in essence is using coincident indicators to vector in on something.
Exactly.
So you look at the host rock lithology, you look at the alteration package. You've mentioned kind of a titanium basalt. So obviously there's an element of an elevated indication of that particular element, plus the structure.
Exactly.
And then you put all of that together. Presumably there's an overlay of geophysics as well.
Yes, we have great geophysics coverage, which is really helpful. And we've worked with Maura Geoscience to kind of unlock it, do 3D inversion and create geologic models, improve them, kind of an iterative process until we get a really nice geologic model. And the leftover anomalies that we can't explain through the model end up being targets. They're either areas where there's alteration or where there's lots of sulfides.
Yeah, and I mean the structural complexity in this area that we sort of keep going back to is really going to be the fundamental sort of baseline for really understanding, the higher grade portions of this system. But the geochemistry is really good for our overall understanding geologically of what's sort of going on. So it's really like using all of those tools together that I think is really going to unlock pieces in this area.
We should probably tell you our geologic thesis for this area.
No, absolutely. I was coming to that. So we've done quite a lot on method. So kind of what are you looking for, and what are the analogs?
So we've really strategically picked up ground along what we call the Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone. It goes from the northeast part of the property down to the southwest.
Repeat that for me.
Manitou-Dinorwic shear zone.
Okay.
But it's just a key structure, and it's, we believe, the most important one for gold. Big and long-lived. Yeah. And then there are these older structures that cross-cut it, and they are repeating up and down this structure. So they're giving us these nice traps for high-grade gold mineralization. In addition to that, we have a nice fold, and when these intersections happen, you get high-grade shoots. It's pretty typical and kind of a system. In these systems, you see this happening quite a bit. So we're working with that geologic thesis, and we've honed in on an area where we have known mineralization from historic mines, and we have kind of the most data. So the entire land package has about 30,000 meters of drilling, and this area has most of it. So it gives us a kind of brownfields opportunity in a big, underexplored camp.
Mm-hmm. And really, understanding the periodicity of these sort of intersecting structures is really going to be our upgrading feature in the system. So that entire shear zone or deformation zone has mineralization, but it's where we're getting these upgrading structures cross-cutting it that is really going to be key to our understanding.
And what's your kind of target? And you've described kind of the intersections and the coincidence of all and the periodicity of these all of these key features. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for obviously everyone wants high grade, but high grade in a big mass is better than high grade in a complex set of deformed veins.
What we have traced on surface is a continuous vein system. So we have this vein, and what we're looking for is how often high-grade shoots develop within it. The previous owners really focused on one high-grade shoot. They had this crazy hit of 5,300 grams per ton. Or no, 53,000. Sorry, 53,000. Yeah, the number just blows my mind. So just crazy, straight up gold.
Yeah.
So they really twinned the crap out of that. And I don't think that gave us most value. So we know the structure is continuous, and we see that there are several others along that. In the first drill program, the set of results that are out to date, so that's just a small portion of what we've drilled so far, we actually tested that first to better understand the controls, and then we did step outs on other areas we believed could be high-grade shoots, and we intersected 2 other high-grade shoots that we'll continue to prove up.
Yeah, and it's our understanding and our sort of thesis that these higher grade shoots will have a lot more continuity sort of up and down plunge than necessarily like a huge strike extent. So sort of when you're asking about, the mining potentially and, it being overly complex, our thesis is that we will have continuity up and down plunge.
And they're not happening far apart either.
Yeah, it's sort of like a big pipe is
So,
a great way to think of it.
Yeah, this is that classic shape.
Yes.
When it comes to building a resource in structurally complex areas, sometimes you have to do lots and lots of close-spaced drilling, and you can end up almost kind of on a hamster wheel of drilling to try and work out what you've got.
What's nice here is we have some historic mining data, and there's actually already been some test mining. They did 5 blasts, and we have some met work as well.
Yeah.
What we see is that the historic mining matches exactly what we got in the test mining. It's about 5.5 grams on this big master system, and there's another which I'll remind me to talk about. And what's nice about that is that these zones are close together, so the average grade is coming out 5, but the high grade shoots will be a bit higher.
Okay, so you've got the potential to put together a kind of a larger mass of rock with some lower grade material in between. And are you seeing that there's grade carrying across between structures?
We actually do have some halo mineralization, and we have, you can actually see it quite nicely on the outcrop. The vein is, kind of your typical kind of narrow, high-grade vein, but we do have alteration around that, and that is carrying gold as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's too early to kind of say, oh, this is an open pit target or an underground target, but in terms of the analogues of the kind of deposits that you'd like to what's your target style? What's your dream deposit you're trying to emulate within the parameters of this kind of geology?
Well, it's interesting what we see is it does remind me quite a bit of Red Lake, and what they found first were some of these continuous veins at the Campbell mine, and these look like them with, these upgrading features within them, which makes them more mineable than just, one shoot or another shoot. Yeah. And then we have a parallel zone that is disseminated sulfide mineralization. That has wider widths and kind of more continuity. So the second phase of drilling that we'll be releasing hopefully soon as we get the results back is targeting that. So it's an extension of that. There was historic drilling done by Teck in the 80s and 90s. So we wanted to get modern drilling in that to understand it better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now when I look at your presentation, you've got that lovely kind of the mag, 3D interpreted mag with your kind of the little red zones, which are kind of your favourable target horizon that's spread over many kilometres, and you've got lots of these target zones. That sounds like an enormous work program. How do you rationalise the prospectivity of the area and rank your targets and decide where you're going to be firing your few bullets that you've got?
Well, what we decided to do is start out in this area that has seen the historic mining, and we have the most data. We've done step outs to the north, so we've got 1.5 kilometers strike length now from the first drill program that was released. And then we just before PDAC finished a step out that goes 3 kilometers. So that'll give us a 3-kilometer footprint. I think it's really important in this kind of system to define a big enough footprint to have something significant. And we won't bite off more than we can chew. We'll learn from the programs we're doing now and look for other similar settings.
So when you say a step out of kind of 1 kilometre or 1.5 kilometres, is that literally you drilled in one spot and then you moved the rig 1.5 kilometres, 1 kilometre?
Yeah, so this step out that we just finished is 1 kilometre from where we drilled on the Elora vein. It's a full kilometre away.
On the same structure?
On the same structure.
Yeah, that's our
we believe
thesis.
it's the same structure. From what we've seen with the geophysics, we can kind of trace it down.
And what's the content? What have you intersected on both of those, or has that not been released yet?
We haven't had the results back yet, but what we see visually is sulfide mineralization on both. So it does seem to be that other style of mineralization, which we see on the west side of the property.
Okay, and how are you batching up your drilling campaigns, if you are, or are you just going continuous?
We're actually doing these in about a 2-week stint, and then taking a break, getting results back, and even just what we see visually is sort of a result, so we can tweak that.
Yeah.
And then this last phase, maybe I'll let Anna speak to what we decided to test.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to mention too, we're really doing this sort of phased approach so we can have a lot of continuity on the ground with the drill crews and with the geology crews there. So, since we started the program, we've been fortunate enough to have, continuity there completely. And it just really helps, to have that for our understanding. Like Maura was saying, our Allura phase, we really focused on that sulfide mineralization. For the phase that we're currently working through, we had a couple of follow-up holes following up on some areas where we had theorized there were some other high-grade plunges.
High-grade shoots. Yep.
And we drilled a couple deep holes there, deeper for us, about 300 to 400 meters. Those are the deepest holes we've drilled to date. So assays are pending on those, but we were pretty excited for what we were seeing in the box coming out. And then we did a step out to the south there that Maura was talking about. There was
That 1 kilometer big jump.
yeah, there was a historic mine there called Selby. Not a lot of work has been done, but there are some really favorable surface results. And together with the geophysics that we got reinterpreted by Mira, we really were able to put a little bit of a thesis together for that region. So, that is our biggest step out to date. And, assays are pending. But again, it really looked like when we were logging the holes that we saw, favorable sulfidation and structures. So,
And you asked how we rank them all. Well, we've luckily been able to be part of bigger companies too and look at ranking schemes. So grade, always king. So we need high grade. We look at how easy access is, logistics. So I live in the community and I've been able to speak with the local people and see where there's areas of cultural sensitivity, things we don't want to touch. And just all of these elements are really important. And then, favorable geology always has to be there, of course. Mm-hmm. So we rank and rate all of those. We've actually put together we call it an exploration pipeline. It could be a triangle if you're looking at different. Everybody calls it different things.
Whatever shape you want.
I like the pipeline; it's easier to put on the slide. So we've ranked all those targets, and that's how we're working through them. We had some great results from our field program on the Hinman property. We have to capitalize on these opportunities too. That was gone through and forested recently, so it's wide open. We have tons of outcrop to see, and that's how we found that discovery.
So I was going to ask about some kind of logistics. Is there glacial till cover, and kind of what's the exposure opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, we are exploring undercover for the majority of the land package, which is pretty typical of this area.
Glacial till?
So we have like a variety of different covers. We have, some lakes, some forest, like heavily forested areas. And, we have some till covering here. But, I think what's really important is really the utilization of geophysics. Because we're really able to get a good understanding of what's beneath that cover. And that's always a struggle in this area. My background, I did a lot in tills, and I think that there is going to be some benefit to that here. But it's really getting a good understanding of what's in the project. There's been a lot of historic piecemeal work that's been done. So it's really compiling all of that, and then really taking what we're learning from our current drill program and applying it to the rest of the project as well.
We do have outcrop though, and like the till isn't particularly deep. So I've worked in the area before, and most of it is pretty shallow.
Yeah, we're
not
able
doing
to do ground
really
samples.
deep casing or anything. It's kind of nice that way.
And the town of Dryden, it's an old gold mining town.
It's actually a forestry town.
It's a forestry town.
We're kind of halfway between Rainy River is to the south and Red Lake is to the north, and so many people actually work in mining and live in Dryden.
Right.
And when I go to the grocery store, someone always stops me and is like, "When are you opening this mine?" Because I want to work at home. So I think we do have like that going
There's
for
an
us.
awareness of mining.
Yeah.
And how to get to Dryden from here, what would I do and how long would it take?
You can fly to either Thunder Bay or Winnipeg and drive, and we do have an airport in Dryden as well, but it's not very busy.
Smaller.
Charter aircraft.
Yeah.
The accessibility on the area, are you able to drive around? I mean, do you have to use kind of all-terrain vehicles and kind of funny
We're
skids
taking
and
the
things?
truck right to the drill sites right now.
Right.
Yeah, in the winter.
With the ground frozen, it's
Yeah.
quite easy.
Yeah.
And then we have lots of existing trails because it's an area where there's a paper mill. There's a lot of active forestry. So we're quite lucky to have new trails going in all the time to our exploration area.
Yeah.
We have the Trans-Canada Highway go through the property, and we have a highway that kind of goes parallel to the property to north and south. So it's good access.
Yeah, we don't really foresee ever needing to use helicopter support, which is great.
And
Cheaper drilling.
Cheaper drilling. And assaying, where do you get that done?
So mostly in Thunder Bay, ACT Labs, they do some specialty geochemistry in their Ancaster lab here, but the majority in Thunder Bay.
And there is a lab in Dryden as well. It's just we're doing the full geochem, so we're going to the bigger lab in Thunder Bay, but that's a quick drive.
Yeah. And do you rent I mean, you don't have field camps, you've got people sleeping in Dryden. It's a short enough drive, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trey always makes fun. He says, "Oh, Maura can go out in the field and be back for dinner," and that's actually quite true.
Have you relocated to Dryden?
Yeah. I used to buy my diapers in Dryden when I was living in Red Lake, so it was a move to the big city for me.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So let's just, if you could just kind of recap the work program for the next few months going forward. Kind of what are you looking to deliver to the market?
Yeah. So we really want to show that there is a footprint large enough to be something significant here. So we're doing some larger step outs to the north and to the south. And then we want to define more of these high-grade shoots to show that there's enough here to be something, again, significant. And from that, those are kind of the key elements here.
Scale and grade.
Exactly. That's key. So I think that's what you'll see coming forward. And then after PDAC, Anna and I have to kind of arm wrestle and decide what we want to do for our next phase, what's been successful, and where we want to go from here.
But you've got drilling results which will be coming out, and with an ongoing drill phase, you're essentially going to have rolling
Results as we go.
Rolling results as we
Exactly.
go. Okay, great. Well, good luck.
Thank you very much, Merlin.
Yeah, good luck with it all. Thank you so much for coming to speak to me, and I love a bit of high grade and I love a bit of scale.
Yeah.
So do we.
Yeah.
Great, go for it.